Audio Jungle.
Howdy folks, happy Monday. We have another exciting week of baseball this week in Fantasy 2K24 Sports, and we're going to jump right on into it. This is Baseball Now, and I'm your host, Scott. So let's jump right into our weekly recap of the Commissioner and go on down to our Atlanta, Georgia studios with Thomas, our lead analyst and the host of the Bullpen Show. Thomas, take it away.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, we had a heck of a week this week. Let's take a look at the games this week that went down for week 3. You had the Dominators that defeated the Chili Dogs, Thomas versus Ken, by about 200 points. The Dominators finally getting that one W by their name, and Ken goes to 1-2 as Dominators are now 1-2. And the next game you had just a little crazy. That's Dan versus the Gatlinburg Knights. That's Scotty. This one was close all week until the very end. Dan winning by around 100 points. Dan moves to 2-1. Scotty now moves to 0-3. You had the Atlantic Express. That's Ruben versus the Warner Robin Bombers. That's Jackson. The Express cruises to a 200-point win. They're now 3-0. Jackson's now 0-3. And then you have the Wildcats, the game of the week. You had the Wildcats, that's Tammy versus the Demon Duck, Lindsay, that's Greg. The Wildcats, a close game, trailed for much of the week until Friday when they turned on the afterburners and leave the Demon Ducks in the dust by winning by well over 80 points. The Wildcats now go to 3-0, while the Demon Ducks, Greg, go to 2-1. So very interesting last week. We did have one trade. You had Dan and Greg make a deal on Friday. Dan receiving Rafael Devers, a third baseman. Greg receiving Jose Barrios, a starting pitcher from Toronto, who actually pitched pretty good for Greg's team on Sunday, getting around 30 points. So now we're going to go ahead and look ahead at Week 4. Let's look at the matchups of Week 4. Off the top, you've got the Georgia Dominators now 1-2 versus Ruben 3-0. The Atlanta Express. Highlight this game on your games of the week. It's going to go down. This is going to be a good. This should be a good one. Here's an interesting fact. In 2023, a year ago, the Georgia Dominators defeated the Atlanta Express in all 3 games by well over 80 points per game. I mean, now we're in 2024, so it doesn't really mean a whole lot, but still, looking back on the historical aspect of a year ago. Then you have just a little crazy. That's Dan versus Greg, the Demon Ducks. This is a championship rematch from a year ago, where Dan won by 100 points over the Demon Ducks in the finale. Both are 2-1 teams, so they're looking to get that third win. Then you have Tammy with the Wildcats versus Ken with the Chili Dogs. A 3-0 Wildcats versus a 1-2 Chili Dogs team. Can the Wildcats go to 4-0? Or can the Chili Dogs pull off a huge upset? In our last game, you've got the Gatlinburg Knights versus the Warner Robin Bombers. Both are 0-3. Both are looking for that first win of the year. Here's some interesting things on the Wildcats 3-0 start. That is not the longest win streak to open up a year. That's not even close. Greg and his Demon Ducks a year ago had a 4-game opening winning streak. Dan also had a 4-game winning streak that started the year in 2022. But those are not close. The Georgia Dominators in 2019 started 8-0 on their way that year to winning the championship. And the team that actually defeated the Dominators on that, to hand them that first loss, was Scotty by around, I believe it was 15 points. So just to throw that out there, if 3-0 start is not, it's still great, but that is not the longest. So it remains to be seen. Can the Wildcats, can Tammy's team do something historic and get to 8-0 and tie the record, or maybe surpass it and go 9-0. We'll have to. We've still got a long way to go to find that out. So, still got a long way to go. Anything can happen. Um, I'm speaking as Thomas, the manager for the Dominators. I know this week is crucial for me. I've got to have this game over the Express. This is one of my rivals. Well, folks, they're all my rivals, quite frankly. They all got to go down. But this is a game that I'm looking forward to. I really need this game. I think it's going to be interesting all week. Um, Now going back as commissioner, looking around, like I said, the Wildcats and Chili Dogs could be interesting. Probably not, but it could be. The Knights and Bombers, who's going to get that first win? And then the real game of the week this week is going to be Dan versus Greg. That's the real game of the week this week. But that's your recap for week 3, and that's your looking ahead to week 4. And now we'll send it back to Scott in our East Tennessee Media Studios.
All right, Thomas, thank you for that great update, that weekly recap, and some interesting history notes. I did know, only thing I didn't remember was a couple of things, but I did remember how I knocked off your winning streak that one year. But now we're going to take a chance to go ahead and look at our Commissioner's Power Rankings. We've had another exciting week and some more up and downs. The first 3 spots in the Power Rankings are going to be took by the same 3 teams that has had it for the last couple of weeks. The Wildcats at number 1, the Express at number 2, and the Ducks at number 3. Once we get past the number 3 spot, things start to get a little bit more interesting. Dan, who was number 5 last week, has moved up into that number 4 hole. And Thomas, who was all the way at the bottom at number 7, has moved all the way up to number 5. Coming in at the number 6 spot is Ken and the Chili Dogs. And 7 spot's my very own Gatlinburg Knights. And following up, number 8 is the Warner Robin Bombers, again for the 2nd consecutive week. So that is your Commissioner's Power Rankings for the week. I do appreciate Thomas taking the opportunity to put all this to his report together. I know he's out fishing today with Greg. Good luck and happy fishing. But that's all for the Baseball Now today. I'm your host, Scott, here in the great Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and our East Tennessee Media Studios 44. I hope everybody has a great Monday afternoon and evening. And be sure to tune in Thursday for the Bullpen Show with Thomas Cashin.
This has been a production of Cashin Sports, a division of East Tennessee Media.